Hi guys, and welcome to another video. So in this video, I'm not too sure how long it is going to be, but I'm pretty much just going to do a little bit of a ramble on Sunderland's start to the season so far. Now, I would have preferred to do this maybe a little bit later down the road, but given that we don't have a game this weekend, I think it'd probably be a nice time to just sit back and look at Sunderland's start to the season. So, first of all, we'll look at the sort of points total that I would have liked us to have, given the fixtures we did have in the League One campaign. So, of course, we have Bristol Rovers, followed by a game against Oxford, then Peterborough, and then Charlton. Now, arguably, that's probably one of the most difficult starts across the board in comparison to other clubs in the league. For example, Hull, they had a very, very easy start to the season, in my opinion, or at least in comparison to us, and they managed to win all their games. Then the second they come up against a half-decent side in Fleetwood, they got battered 4-1 on Friday night. So, if we need to look at it objectively and subjectively as well. So, for our start, I would have gone, Bristol Rovers, I would have 100% expected a win. Oxford, a draw. Peterborough, I actually expected us to get ourselves a loss and maybe a draw or a win against Charlton. So, I think 8 points on the whole was actually what I kind of would have been happy with, and that's exactly what we've got. So I'll give that sort of 7 out of 10. I think would be quite fair in terms of how we've done so far. But again, if you look at it subjectively, from the way the games were actually played, Bristol Rovers we should have won. It was a daft mistake from the keeper, literally 1 minute into the new campaign. They give away a penalty, and then we were making chances, plenty of chances, mind you. Where we probably should have come away with 3 points, and fair play to Bristol Rovers, they did play very well that day, and then they'll be more than happy, I'm sure, going away from the Stadium Light with a point. But we should have come away with 3 points on that day. Had we have won that game, we'd now be sat on 10 points, which would be even better. Charlton, another game where I believe we should have won. We should have massively won. We dominated for pretty much 60-70 minutes of the game. Then we had a man sent off, and it allowed Charlton into the game a bit more. So we win that game, and we would have been on 12 points. So if you look at it that way, of course, before the season, like I say, 8 points I would have been pretty happy with. But I think we do have 4 points dropped there, and arguably we should have come away with all 12 points from the opening 4 games of the season, because of course we did beat both Oxford and Peterborough, 2 teams who were expected to be there and thereabouts, particularly Peterborough, and of course Oxford were only 90 minutes away from the Championship last season, going to the playoff final. But we did manage to win those games, and I suppose you could argue, against Peterborough, it was a very, very close call. Peterborough could have easily won that game just as much as we could have done, but we did manage to get away with the 3 points. Charlton in particular was probably the one for me where I think we should have won the most, even more so than the Bristol Rovers game. Charlton were very poor. We made very, very good chances. And we should have come away easily with a good 2 or 3-0 win, and it could have been 2 or 3-0 up at half time, to be fair. But yeah, we could have or should have maybe come away from these opening 4 games with maximum points, and that's not being greedy or being sort of arrogant as a Sunderland fan, expecting us to win every single game. But we need to start getting this attitude of being ruthless, because if we want to go up, if we want to win the division or at least come second, you need to be ruthless with these results. And I feel like over the opening 4 games, there are 2 games in which we just weren't ruthless enough. We've dropped points, and that's exactly what's happened. So yeah, in general, I am quite happy with the 8 points that we do have. But now going over to next weekend, we do take on Swindon. It's going to be a difficult one because of injuries we do have defensively. So basically, of course, Willis, after the game last weekend, he apparently did pick up a little bit of a knock on his knee, but he is expected to feature. Jamali has picked up an injury. Apparently, it's quite a significant injury as well, away on international duty with Kosovo. Feeney has picked up a injury in training, which is apparently going to be a long-term one. And of course, Flanagan did get sent off against Charlton. So we've got 3 centre-backs there potentially not being able to feature. And for a team that play 3 at the back, that is an absolute nightmare. That is going to be an absolute nightmare. And we did just play Carlisle recently in the EFL Trophy, a game which was filled with goals, 8 goals in fact, where we did win by 5-3. I did manage to watch it whilst I was at work, but because I was at work I couldn't do a match review, or at least I just didn't do one. But in that game, we did have a makeshift sort of back three, and they conceded 3 goals against Carlisle, which again, it worries me, because I think our sort of our main vocal point so far this season in the opening 4 games has been our defence, and we have been keeping clean sheets, and we've only conceded through penalties. We haven't conceded from open play, so to mess that around now after 4 games when that back line is really starting to bed in, it could prove to be very, very costly. And we know how bad injuries can affect a team's season, not just us, but any other team for that matter. So I'm not too sure who we're going to go with. We could maybe play, obviously, Bailey Wright being the first name on the team sheet pretty much. If Willis is back, then Willis on the right, then maybe O'Nien on the left of that back 3, which definitely isn't something that I'd favour, but unfortunately that's just the way we probably have to go, given that he did play there against Carlisle. And I don't think he did put a massive amount wrong, but even so, it's we're going to be up against higher calibre players than Carlisle, and we really did struggle. And I know we had other players in there, like Brandon Taylor was there against Carlisle as well. He may feature, although he's a player that, although he does have some ability, I actually don't think he does have the ability to play regular football in League One. I don't think he is that good, and that's just my own opinion. So of course, if Luke O'Nien does shift over to that left-hand side of a back 3, we probably have to put maybe Conor McLaughlin on the right-hand side as the right wing back. Of course, keep Denver Hume. So there's ways around it, but the chemistry across the back line is going to worry me. It's really going to worry me. But now moving up to the other end of the pitch, which is also a concern, and it's quite a well-documented concern for Sunderland, is a striking department. Now, we don't have a regular goal scorer. Philip Parkinson seems content on changing the striking options every single game, which isn't helpful. I don't know whether he's just going to wait until one of them scores a goal in the league and then stick with them until they don't score a goal, which to me is a very Sunday League tin pot tactic to do. I think he needs to stick with one striker and give him a run in the team, and give him 4, 5, 6 games, and if it's clearly not working, then change it. But he's changing the striker every game. He's going Charlie White one game, Danny Graham the other, and he's bringing Will Grigg on as a sub in 1 in 4 games, which is a confusing one as well, given that Will Grigg looked like our best striker in pre-season. He was scoring, he was looking really lively, he's come back really fit, he looks sharp, and then he just doesn't feature, and he still has this relationship with Charlie White where he just won't drop him. And I've said it on here many times, and I'm kind of getting sick of hearing my own voice about it, but Charlie White isn't good enough for this club. He isn't. You may say he works harder, he does this, that and the other, and he scored and got an assist the other night against Carlisle, and I made my point known on social media that I think we just need to get rid. I don't know who the hell would come in to buy him or take him. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not just trying to slag the lad off for the sake of it, but it's true. He isn't a striker for someone who or a team that is aiming to win the league. He isn't that striker. He never will be, in my opinion. But then, a lot of people on social media were agreeing with me, and then as soon as he scores a goal, it's like, oh yeah, he just scored. What are you talking about? You're talking rubbish. Yeah, because he scored a tap-in against Carlisle, that means he's our saviour now. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't erase the last couple of seasons we've had to witness the shite, unfortunately, that Charlie White has provided, because he doesn't offer anything, in my opinion. He really doesn't. And I think we're just trying to really nitpick at anything remotely positive that he does to try and justify him being our number 9, which still knocks me sick. Do you know what I mean? I grew up seeing, Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips, and now we're dealing with Charlie White. Do you know what I mean? It just isn't good enough for this division. I don't think he's good enough. He might be able to do a job in a more physical side, who are battling relegation and something like that. I don't know, but it isn't working for us. Charlie White will never be Sunderland's main goal threat. Danny Graham, on the other hand, who, he did have a bit of a shocker in front of goal against Charlton, but it just shows he gets those chances. His movement off the ball is a lot better, and he contributes so much more than Charlie White. And I mean, so much more. He's such a better aerial threat. He knocks balls on. He's actually good with his feet. And for me, he should be starting, Danny Graham. And I would love to see Danny Graham actually start alongside Will Grigg, because I think those two could work really well. And those two, I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think we've actually seen them two on the pitch at the same time together, because we seem to think that putting Wyke and Grigg on at the same time is going to bring out this sort of Quinn and Phillips thing of a big and small. And Charlie Wyke isn't even actually that big, but we keep classing him as a target man, and he's not, because he doesn't win that many headers. He gets bullied half the time. He comes on for the last 20 minutes of games, or if he starts, all he does is give away free kicks all game, and he offers so little. Whereas Danny Graham, if he isn't getting that service, he will come deep for it, and he'll pick it up himself, and he'll drag himself into the game if the system and the way the game's going isn't bringing him into the game naturally, if that makes sense. And I love to see that. He wants to be on the ball and he wants to do things. I'm not saying he's amazing. I'm not daft. Well, you might think I am, but I'm not dressing up to be this amazing player or the player who's going to get us 20+ goals this season, because he's not. But he just offers so much more than the rest. So we've touched on the defensive department. We've touched on, well, we are touching now on, of course, the striking department. And the reason I say that is because we definitely need to bring someone in my opinion. We have just re-signed Benji Kimpioka, but I see him more as a winger for me, or maybe just off the strikers. Whether we do see him, I'm not too sure. I think the main priority now for Parkinson in terms of the transfer market will be defensively, and I do understand that, whether it's a short-term centre-back or a couple of loans. Denver Hume still doesn't have any competition on the left-hand side, although what Parkinson is starting to do is to put more midfielders as the wing backs. We've seen Diamond the other night played at one side, and obviously Hume was on the other night. But we can see Diamond on either side of the wing backs. So there is options there to an extent, but I would prefer to have a more naturally defensive-minded left back, or just a general natural left back or left wing back to compete with Denver Hume. Because even though Denver Hume for me I think is brilliant, and I've made that known. I think Denver Hume's a brilliant player, but he needs competition. Every player needs competition to push him, because otherwise, there's no point in him trying hard in training. There's no point in him trying to put his stamp down in training, because regardless of what he does, whether he's good or bad, he's got the spot because there's no one else to compete, if that makes sense. And that's where it can just bring a little bit of complacency to his game. Luckily for us, I don't think it has. I think he's been very good, but even so, every player needs competition. But going back to the strikers, what I'm saying is basically we're relying far too heavily on everyone other than the strikers to get us the goals, because we've got like Maguire who's coming in scoring, Gooch or could lead better with a penalty as well, but even so, the strikers aren't scoring, and we need to be giving someone a run in the team, and not Charlie Wyke, because I don't think he's going to get us those goals, like I say. But I'll end up rambling on. But for the whole general topic of the video, how do I think, or what do I think about the start to our season? I'm satisfied. It's probably just satisfactory for me, and like I say, 7 out of 10 I would probably give it. But again, there's just such a big shout that we could have won the two games that we didn't. If there was games, or if we maybe, say for example, drew a game that I thought we only just scraped that, I would see that as a good result. But against both Bristol Rovers and Charlton, we have quite a decent case to argue that we should have won those games. So. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Just a relatively short one. I haven't spoken about Sunderland for a while, because I've been doing a lot of FIFA content recently, as you'll probably know. But I think this is a good time for you guys to comment down below your thoughts on Sunderland's start to the season. Give it a rating out of 10 as well. I do like to read the comments to see what you guys think about these kind of videos. So give me a mark out of 10 for Sunderland's start to the season. But if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It'd be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already, to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care and stay jammin'.